Adjustment meeting for May 15th. And if we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We can approve the agenda. Do we have any changes?
Do we want to do roll call?
Yeah. Okay.
Member Small?
Here.
Member Mulholland?
Here.
Member Garshaw?
Here.
Vice Chair Chase? Here. Chair Bomar?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Yes, Chair, with item number 1, approval of the agenda, we would like to carry item 5A, the item for discussion, into our next meeting.
Okay.
And that is all I have for a change.
Okay. So I'll have a motion to approve the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 15th, 2024 agenda for the St. Pete Beach Board of Adjustment.
Okay, roll call.
Get a second?
Second.
Thank you. I was going to say Member Lorenzen. Member Small?
Yes.
Vice Chair Chase?
Yes.
Member Garshaw?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We're going to go to the audience comments section. So if there's anybody that would like to speak to anything other than an item that's on the agenda today, you could come up and speak to it for 3 minutes. And anybody who would like to speak or be a witness to anything today, if you could stand and we'll do an oath.
Anyone who will be speaking to the board today or making a presentation needs to be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the information or factual representation that you are about to give or present to the board is truthful? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to have any comments before the meeting today? Nope, okay. Let's see, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the April 24th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from April 24th. I'll second it.
Roll call.
Member Garshaw?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Vice Chair Chase?
Yes.
Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we'll go to the action items, and the first one is case 23084. Kristen, if you want to.
Sure, if I may have the PowerPoint.
Do we want to do ex parte first?
Oh, do you want to do that?
Thank you, Member Chase. I was just about to say that. Any ex parte disclosures that the board would like to disclose, now would be the time.
No. No.
Yes, I drove by the residence and also did a walk by. I have had 2 brief conversations with the applicant in regards to this coming before the board. However, we never talked any technical specifics. The only technical specifics I received was from the staff, and I also received and read the emails from staff.
I also did a drive-by. None.
Thank you.
So to begin today, we have variance case number 23084, located at 2841 Alton Drive. It is a practical difficulty variance request. So William and Terry Grocott request to construct an 8-foot by 22-foot addition for an expansion of an existing attached garage with a proposed front yard setback of 16.96 feet, where 20 feet is required, and looking for relief from Land Development Code Section 8.7A1. It's a listing of exhibits. Here is an aerial picture or photograph. Subject property is outlined in red. It is a waterfront parcel, and it contains a single-family residence. It is surrounded by single-family residences to the north, east, west, and McPherson Bayou to the south. The property is located in the RU1 zoning district, RU on the future land use map. Just part from the variance request detail from the staff findings report. The applicant is requesting to construct again an 8-foot by 22-foot addition to the existing attached garage that does not meet the proposed front yard, or does not meet the required front yard setback. Here is a survey showing existing conditions of the property. So the garage would be up on your upper left-hand side. With the driveway, it is a side entry driveway. It currently contains a 1-story dwelling with a paver driveway, rear paver patio, and an in-ground pool and a dock. Here is the site plan that was submitted as part of the documents. Here, this is a great illustration of the proposed renovations that they're proposing in addition to the attached garage, so you can see that. But they do only need relief for the expansion of the attached garage. And here's just an enlargement of the garage floor plan. So the dashed red line shows the required 20-foot front yard setback requirement, and then also the proposed setback. So you can see what is the required and then the actual encroachment in a visual format. Now I'm going to bring you on to the site. Noticing was completed as required, legal ad published and notices mailed on May 1st and sign posted on May 7th. And here is a picture of the front of the dwelling from the roadway on Alton Drive. This is the adjacent property to the west, single-family residence, and adjacent property to the east, also single-family residence. So the top left is looking north from the front entry, looking out onto Alton Drive. I just wanted to get this picture from the front porch so you could see the side entry garage, and you could just see the depth there. And then also from the side property within the driveway, looking west on the bottom right. This is just looking from the corner of the garage towards the front yard. And just so you have an idea of what else is on the property, this is going around the side yard looking to the rear, looking from the seawall into the rear yard, another view of the rear, and coming around to the side yard. So the variance criteria and comments, those were listed in your staff findings report and staff comments. The applicant should be prepared to provide their own testimony and respond to staff comments below. The applicant should provide an overview of the proposed renovations as a whole, and if any additional improvements are proposed to be made to the exterior of the dwelling. Also, during the site visit completed by staff, it appeared that the green space as shown on sheet 1 is not currently existing as the front yard, and portions of the side yard are covered by rock, and if green space is proposed, no information or planting plan was provided at the time of submission. As per the Land Development Code, section 22.4, in no instance shall non-vegetative pervious material for the purposes of this section, whether it be stone, shell, gravel, and artificial turf only, shall be utilized for more than 20% of the minimum required pervious area, nor shall such material adversely affect abutting properties, waterways, or the right-of-way. Applicant will need to complete the installation of landscaping in conformance with the Land Development Code section 22.4 and 22.10 with landscape inspection completed and approved by zoning prior to the issuance of a final inspection or certificate of occupancy. So with that, staff did determine by looking at their survey, being out on site, so staff did estimate a deficiency of about 280 square feet that they would need to plant in order to meet this requirement. So we have in our land development code, if you're applying for a practical difficulty variance, we have to, one, that's another issue, we have to make sure you have compliance with that. So that would just be, testimony that the applicant could give us to see how we could get to that point, should you support the variance, if that makes sense. So staff find the request is reasonable given the unique layout of the lot and will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. Staff recommends approval, but with the following conditions. The applicant will complete installation of landscaping in conformance with the Land Development Code, section 22.4 and 22.10, with landscape inspection completed and approved by zoning prior to the issuance of a final inspection or certificate of occupancy. Applicant shall also submit a sealed as-built plan or survey noting all setbacks and ISR calculation and approved by zoning prior to the issuance of a final inspection or certificate of occupancy. And that's just to make sure that you approve those setbacks, that they met that setback. Okay. We did receive some letters. Some were in your packet and received an additional. So we did receive 7 letters, and they were all in support. And I'm open to any questions you may have.
None for me, thank you, Kristen. No, I have none either. I think what the staff recommends makes sense.
Okay. We'll can hear from the applicant, but if you have any questions for me now or later, I'm here.
Would the applicant like to come forward and?
Good afternoon, Terry Grocott, 2841 Alton Drive. So to follow on to the staff's recommendations, one of them was a proposed overview of the project writ large. So as Kristen mentioned, you know, it's a variance of 3 foot 4 inches to the front to construct an 8 by 22 addition to the garage. The current garage space is approximately 28 by 2110. The garage is actually going to get smaller. It's going to be 28 by 17.6, which is the minimum you can have to have a 2-car garage. So we're being as conservative as we can. And the purpose is to actually move the master ensuite bath into the garage, because currently the master bedroom is an internal room to the house. There is no entry or egress from our bedroom to the exterior of the house, which is not in compliance with Florida codes, building codes, so for safety standards. So we'll be able to, the only window that is available is in that bathroom, and it is not in compliant. It is only 15.5 inches wide, including the sash. So we will be able to relocate that bathroom into the garage. And if I could have the overhead.
That's good.
So, as I said, item 1 here is the moving of the bathroom from the current location in the house over into the garage space, what is considered existing garage space, along with the closet next to it. That would allow the master bedroom to be an external room to the house and have the appropriate security, safety standards for entry and egress in the event of an emergency. Item 2 is a slight bump out to the kitchen of about 6 foot, and that is so that we can gain entry into the new garage. It also allows us to bring that laundry into the house, which is currently in the garage. The new minimum space garage would not account for it. Bringing it into the house also helps us with things like aging in place, which is very important to us. And then item 3 on this list is we're enclosing the covered porch and putting on an extended porch in the front. And that is really an aesthetic improvement, because otherwise you'll have a corridor-looking entryway into the house from the front if we don't kind of make that come a little bit more into proportion. So that is what we're looking at there. I would like to kind of go back a little bit and say, so when we bought the house in 2017, we started with improvements in the back, put in a dock, a seawall, a pool. The back of the house was upgraded. We had the architect come in and do a plan for the front, which was actually to just flip the garage forward and extend it in width, which I loved. It was a great plan until the builders came in and told us how cost prohibitive it would be, because we needed to rework the entire roof line. That wouldn't have required a variance. So we did look at options that would not require a variance before going down this road, and unfortunately, this is where we are now. Just for perspective, that's the architecture renderings of what the new front entryway will look like, both from the front and from the sides. And then noting the staff's concerns regarding the impervious surface. Understand the front is all shells. The front is all shells because we knew we had additional construction. It wouldn't have been a fiscally responsible decision to go in and put landscaping or anything else there, only to know that it was going to be torn out. So I know that there were already pictures for you of the rest, but I just wanted to ensure that my husband and I are committed to having green space on the property. We've put a lot of sweat equity into cultivating an environment that is both bee and butterfly friendly. It's been very successful this year. And then the picture at the bottom is my very first shot at Photoshop. And you know, what we plan on doing is putting some kind of green space, trees in the front surrounded by ground cover that is compatible with the land development code. I do have that information about what we can and cannot put there. So we will come in compliance and have that verification ready for the team. Pending your questions, that's my proposal.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any audience comments? Anybody in the audience would like to speak on behalf or for or against this? No? Okay. Does anybody on the board want to have any questions?
No, my only comment would be to thank you for going out of your way to request feedback from your neighbors. It's always helpful when we have that support.
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of my standard questions I'd like to ask, if that's okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Ma'am, how many previous variances have you had on this property?
None.
And I assume then there's no open permits for variances on it?
There are none.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have a motion?
I think this is a very straightforward case. Not only is she improving the property, but she's coming into compliance with it from a safety perspective, and she has all of her neighbor support. So I'd make a motion to approve case number 23084 based on the testimony we've heard today, including the recommended staff conditions.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Member Chase?
Yes.
Member Garshaw?
Yes.
Chair Bomar?
Yes,
Motion carries.
you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to case 24004. Kristen, if you'd like to
Sure.
present that.
Before we get started on that, I'm sure
Expert
Matthew would
rating.
want to, yep, exactly.
None here.
Thank you. Any ex parte disclosures, now would be the time. I appreciate it.
Yes, once again, I went to the property, I walked by it, and actually, while my dog was still alive, we used to walk through this, by this property several times a week, so I am fairly familiar with the property.
I also did a drive-by.
None.
Drive-by. Okay.
So before I get started, I am going to give you one thing that in my PowerPoint presentation, I had some issues, technical issues, so there's going to be a slide that shouldn't be there. So if I go really fast, don't read it. Okay? All right. So may I have the overhead? Okay. So starting off with variance case number 24004, located at 130 North Tessier Drive. Also a practical difficulty variance request from Charles and Karen O'Neill. And they're requesting installation of fencing within the front yard and secondary front yard that exceeds the permitted height of 4 feet with 6 feet and 8 feet proposed. So they're requesting relief from Land Development Code Section 6.15. Here's a listing of exhibits. The subject property is outlined in red. It is a corner parcel. It contains a single-family residence with also single-family residences to the north, south, east, and west. The property is located within the RU1 zoning district, RU1 the future land use map. And just again, the variance detail request, they have current fencings within the front yard where we cannot have it exceed 4 feet in height. They do have 6 feet in height as the max, and they're requesting 4, 6, and 8 feet. But for the variance request within the front yard is for the 6 and 8 feet in height. Here's a survey showing the proposed fence location and height. So this was kind of an overlap. It was in your package. It showed what was existing and also with the colorful renderings by the applicant shows you the 4 foot, the 6 foot, and the 8 foot sections that they're proposing. Okay, going to bring you on to the property. Noticing was completed as required, legal ad published, and notices mailed May 1st, signs posted on May 7th. You will notice there were 2 signs posted here. Because it's a corner property, there are 2 signs posted on the property. This is a single-family residence to the west and single-family residence to the south. And here is a view from the street of the current existing 6-foot-high fence located to the right side of the dwelling. Behind this, as when we look on the survey, this would be the pool area. I'm going to take you right into there, which is just inside the fence from the front of the house looking to the rear. And here is another angle looking from the rear of the property, looking towards the front. And here is just some pictures of the current condition of the existing fencing that's located there. Another shot from the other front yard. And here's a kind of a utility yard within the secondary front. And just another view from the street. I did want to give you this as part of a Google image view to look down. You can see kind of, this is going back a few years, but you can see where there was vegetation that kind of screened the previous fencing, which I believe this is some new ownership recently that they may have removed some of that landscaping. So the variance criteria and comments, this was located within your staff findings report. As part of that staff findings report, staff would like the applicant to be prepared to provide their own testimony and respond to our comments. The applicant should provide testimony as to the existing types of fencing and proposed type, including but not limited to style and materials. And the reasons for the request for the additional 2 feet in height to increase from 6 foot to 8 foot high within the secondary front yard should be presented. Testimony or visual pictures of how the fencing will transition would be beneficial. The reason I'm asking for this, because if I can go back, but within that front yard, there's a section of 4 foot that they want to jump up to 8 foot and go back towards the rear of the property, which is just a little strange transition, being that it is closer than 20 feet to the property.
Can you flip back to that picture and
Yeah.
kind of point it out a little?
Go back.
I'm not sure I'm following.
We're going to go back to the colors.
Yes.
Oh, one more. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the blue, and that is a 4 foot high section.
Okay.
Then transitioning to the purple, which is 8 foot high, and there's also like an intersection of the yellow, which is 6 foot high. So just looking in that front yard where it's 5.4 feet from that front property line, you're going to have just 3 different fence heights, and that was just of a concern from staff.
And to be clear, it's just the yellow part, though, that would be 4 feet to be in compliance, that they want 6 feet. The 8 foot is fine.
No.
That 8 foot
So-
along the side is also out of code.
So what's great about this one also is you can kind of see the red dashed line, and it kind of curves all the way around. That is your 20-foot setback requirement line. So anything within that, if it is not blue, that exceeds the height that's permitted.
Okay.
But for that section, and I think it's about 14 or 15 feet in length of 8 foot high fencing, now granted there's 6 foot high there currently, it was just a question as to, I would like testimony on to why the desire for the 8 foot.
Okay. And the code was different when the current fence was
So
installed, or we don't know that history?
I looked through the files, I couldn't actually find a permit for the prior fencing, and I did not find any prior variances that were approved.
Okay. I mean, it certainly looks like it's been there a while.
Yeah,
so.
it's been there a while, and I think the Google image I tried to give you as well, you showed that there was landscaping there, so it was kind of hidden behind, and then if the landscaping was taken out by the new owners, that's when it, of course, going to pop out more.
Yep, okay.
All right, so let's fast forward. Okay, so staff did find the replacement of the existing fencing of the same setback will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, with the exception for the proposed 8 foot high fencing within the secondary front yard, and it is recommended that it may be replaced with fencing no greater than 6 feet in height. So staff does recommend approval with the following condition: that the fencing located within the required 20-foot front yard setbacks shall not exceed the 6 feet in height, and 4 feet of high fencing to be installed as per plan submitted. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So if we go back to the color code, everything would be yellow and blue versus,
Correct. So that 8 foot high section within that dashed
Yep.
curved area, everything would be 6 feet, kind of what they have now, or less.
And they can bump up to 8 feet, though, in the other section.
It can.
beyond
So,
that.
yes. So should you find support of that with this condition, they would have to amend their survey when they submit it to reflect that change.
okay.
But easy enough. Okay, and I do believe the applicant is here as well.
Would the applicant like to come forward? Yes, please. Thank you.
Oh, and one more thing, I'm sorry, I did not receive any letters for or against.
Okay.
Just for the record.
Thank you. You gonna put the picture back?
I can.
Please. Thank you.
Could you state your name and address,
Sure.
please?
My name is Chuck O'Neill. I live at 130 North Tessier, St. Pete, in Paso Grill.
You might want to put that on the overhead, that way you can point to it, if should you want to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Kristen, for helping me do this, because this got goofier when you see all the different colors, and you're like, what's going on? We bought the house in August of 2023, and it was, as you can see, getting pretty dilapidated. The fencing doesn't look good. We took out all that foliage because it was just encroaching on the house. It was destroying things. And we're putting time and effort and money into the house. We will replace the roof. We're going to have the house painted, and we're improving as much as we can to make the neighborhood look good. The quirky point on the pink, and the reason we requested that is because the house behind us, well, has an 8-foot fence. It used to be Larry, the White House you showed. So the 8-foot fence would just extend along the side, and it would look quirky or weird if we went to 8 feet and then dropped to 6 feet to the front. So we just wanted to keep it consistent on the side. That's the only thing we had. Anything else that we requested would be replacing the non-permitted from years ago fencing as it currently sits. So we're not trying to make any other variations or changes except for that 8-foot, or the 8 foots to go in places. Well, the other one in the back would be in compliance. So it's just that small little piece of purple there that we're asking for, and then of course the yellow to keep.
Do you want to point to it on?
Okay, thank you. Right here. This little part right here. And then the yellow again is existing. The yellow here is existing, and we just want to replace it. So we're going to upgrade the fence, obviously, and replace it all with the white plastic or polyvinyl or whatever that fencing is there it has. And the reason we're requesting this also is there are a number of houses on corner lots, and as you know, corner lots are funky. So it's hard to kind of meet everything perfect, and there's a lot of lots that have 6 foot, not the 8 foot that we're asking, but that seem really close to the road. So I was very happy with the recommendation about the yellow part, and I just think it would look weird for the neighborhood and not really look good if that 8 feet went to 6 feet. I mean, we're happy to do it, but it would just look kind of funky. That was the only reason.
Just for clarification, Kristen, your recommendation, my understanding was it was this side where it's blue, pink, yellow, that would all be, it would be blue and then all yellow.
Correct.
Is that correct? So is that a concern for you?
Over here?
No.
The back.
Where you were
Like
at
to
the
the-
intersection.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only place in question is this little spot right here that would be 6 or 8 feet.
Or do the whole thing yellow there, and you're saying that's not workable? You don't like that being all 6 foot there
Because
of
the
what?
fence to the back is 8 feet? Is
Yeah,
that right?
see, all this would be approved 8 feet.
Yes.
And then it would just extend another 5 or 6 feet up, and it would be 2 feet shorter.
Understood.
Anyway, yeah.
Or you do the whole thing 6 feet all the way around that area, but what were you saying, you wouldn't like it all 6 feet the whole way so it's consistent? Because why?
Oh, because the guy behind us, so if you extend this out back this way,
Yeah.
it's 8 feet,
Okay.
the neighbor.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Have you talked to your neighbor that's lot 19?
I have talked to every neighbor around me, and they've all given me a verbal approval. Yes.
Okay. Kristen, in terms of conformity with the neighborhood and keeping in, harmony, that seems to make sense given the neighbor's height is at that. Is that not that must be a non-conforming fence, or was that, do you know with that one?
I don't know. I can't confirm with that lot to the south if that is actually 8 feet. I can tell you that it currently is 6 feet on the property for the applicant. And if you want, we can go back and look at the pictures and see if we can find it. Okay.
Yeah,
If I could have the overhead, please, or the presentation, sorry.
Right there. Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Oh,
sorry.
hold on, one more.
So it would be that far right corner, way up there, where those palm trees are, and that fence line
But I don't know if that is actually a fence. That looks like that may be a shed of some nature, the white part.
No, that's an existing fence though. So Mr. Hepso put in a 6-foot fence in there, and then he left all the other wood fence. But when you look into that corner and you follow that wood all the way back, Larry from behind us has an 8-foot fence that runs right after it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it stops at 8 feet right in that corner, and it goes, and it reverts back to this ugly wood fence.
So this white vinyl fence that we're seeing visibly right now in this picture is yours, right?
Yeah,
And that is 6 feet.
that's
Right.
6 feet. And
Okay.
we weren't going to change that.
Not gonna
because it's
touch
already-
that.
yeah.
But to do everything around this area in 6-foot high fencing to give you the consistency, your issue is with some neighbor that's going out the back side?
We don't have an issue. We're just saying that since they were 8 feet, we thought, well, let's just take the 8 feet, extend it along the side up to the front, and then we'll put the 6 feet in the front because 8 feet would look goofy and it wouldn't look aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood.
Okay. I'm looking at your picture, you have 4, 6, and 8 along the back side of the house, right? From the blue, the purple, the
Yeah,
yellow?
because the blue here is not attached to the house, it just goes back to the road, so
Yep.
4 feet fence is fine.
Yep.
And then a 4 all the way around
Yeah.
there is what's currently there as well.
Okay. And then you go to 8, and then you go to 6 on your own yard, property line right there?
Yeah, I mean, I could, if you guys want me to replace that 6 feet to
No,
keep it consistent
don't
with
want you
8
to.
feet, I'm happy to do it.
No,
Yeah.
it's more of like thinking consistency to your point of maybe the all being yellow versus bumping up to 8, but, okay, I understand.
How many feet is that again, just the one little section that you want permission to do the 8, assuming you get the permission for the other 8 foot, but the small piece, how many feet is that?
I believe it's about 15 feet.
14 feet.
Fif-
15 feet?
About around approximately 15 feet in length.
Yeah, 14.8.
Yeah.
And that whole section is 62 feet long of that portion of that property line, and 5'4" of that would be 4 foot. So the remaining would, about 50-some feet would be 8 foot high.
I mean, that's bringing an 8-foot fence pretty close to the street, right?
That is,
No, I'm sorry, I apologize, it's the easement, it's the easement.
well, there is the right-of-way, so there is a 19-foot 3-inch, or
Yeah,
19.3.
this property definitely has a large right-of-way. In fact, I think they, I don't know if it was before you purchased it or after, but they've done a lot of utility work around that house.
Before, yeah, on that corner,
was
yeah.
Before you purchased, yeah.
But that's on the far side, so the utility work was over here, not here.
Right, I think the easement's the same width, though. or
Yes,
similar.
correct. I'm just saying they put a
Yeah.
water thing in
Yeah,
and they
it's
ran a
very
line.
large
Yeah,
easement around there.
yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just had my routine ones. Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
You want to go ahead?
So, sir, I know you haven't owned it long, so I'm guessing you've had no other variances on this
No, sir.
property? So there's none that's open, so that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Did any of the board members have any more questions for the applicant? No? Anybody in the audience? We can have you come back up if we have any more questions, Mr. O'Neill. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this one way or the other? No?
You
Okay,
said there was no letters received, correct?
Correct, there was no letters received for or against.
But the applicant provided testimony that he received verbal approvals from his neighbors.
Okay. Any more comments from the board? Or would we like to entertain a motion?
I mean, I understand the recommendations from staff, but given the nature of the neighboring fence, I'm inclined to agree that it would be more harmonious to have the consistency of the 8 feet.
I agree with you.
Aesthetically, I think it makes sense, 100%.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
If I may, real quick, and
Yep.
this is in no way to alter your position or decision, But when it comes to nonconformities, and hypothetically, if you approve this at 8 feet, and then the person next door sells their home and replaces their fence, they're going to come in saying the same thing. My neighbor has 8 feet. So essentially, those properties will never not be an 8-foot fence because they will both use each other's property to their benefit. So I just want to make that point. When it comes to nonconformities, the whole point is to bring it into conformity with the code anytime we can.
Yeah, I look at this and I don't see the hardship of having it completely aligned with 6 feet. I think it's very harmonious to have that all around the backside. I'm just looking, by the way, on my screen of the pink and yellows and blues. So if you see me pointing at my screen, it looked to me like that would be a very harmonious look for the homeowner. Maybe not reflecting something that's off to the, I don't know if that would be considered the south side, but of the lot, but.
So you would think that 6 feet all the way around would be,
Would look great. I mean, he's
Right.
got a 6-foot fence in that pool area right now, so it'd be a nice tie-in.
the only
I don't know
thing,
that there's a hardship, I guess, right now to say it's 8 feet or it's gonna look terrible or it's
Right.
going to impact the functionality or the safety or the, I don't know, and then I'm sure there'll be some beautiful landscaping.
I think that
If you'd like
Sir,
to.
you need to come up to the podium.
I think the confusion for me is that, as I understand it, Kristen, tell me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
I don't need approval to put an 8-foot in here. So I could do it, and then I could bring it down to 6 feet. I would
Sure.
prefer to have 8 feet all across. So are you guys telling me that I'm gonna have to go back and put 6 feet in through all of it?
For the, oh no, I'm just saying there's 15 feet right there, that would be 6. It'd be up to you what you did. I mean, you can bump up to 8, that's not what you're asking.
Right, I'm asking you to let me put 8 feet there.
Right, for the 15
That's
feet there
correct.
that,
That's correct.
right.
Because I probably will put 8 feet up there, and if I have to put 6, I'll just put 6. It'll look a little goofy, I'll just do it. I'll do whatever the commission tells me to do.
what is on the other side of that fence?
The neighbors,
Can I have the presentation? So let's
right there.
so this is the neighbor that we're talking, that shares that fence. And when we were looking at that other picture where we saw the white, that's where I was saying there was a shed. I don't necessarily think that that was fencing
You might
because,
see that shed right there, that white top.
right, and you saw it on the other side from the inside from the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I didn't believe that was a fence. I believe that was a shed, and I'm just showing you there.
Mm-hmm.
You also see the fencing is also like wooden, and I don't necessarily know if that is 8 feet. I can't attest to that. I didn't go out and measure it. Just bringing you back in, you see in that picture, the white portion, I believe that is that shed. I don't believe that is a fence. And if he has currently 6 feet fencing now, I believe you would see if there was existing 8-foot high
No, okay.
for the neighbor.
That neighbor doesn't have fencing. It's the neighbor the other way, Kristen.
To the rear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
So it's not the property that you share a property line. It's, okay. So when you're saying you want it to be contiguous or continuous from the neighbor to the rear view, but it is and it isn't because the property lines you share right now is 6 feet
Yeah,
or
no,
6 foot high.
I get it.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I just want the board to
Yeah,
understand
just to
that.
bring it forward. That was all the thinking was.
And the drop down is really not uncommon. In fact, it's very common on waterfront lots. You have to have a 4-foot abutting your neighbor, and I believe it's 20 feet if my recollection is correct. So there's a lot of lots that have 8 foots that drop to 4s and 6 foots that drop to 4s. In fact, I have one. And that's pretty
If you want me
common.
to put a 6 foot in there, I'll put a 6 foot in. Again, I'll do it, but
My thought,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. Just my thought, you have an 8-foot going to a 4-foot, and you also have a 6-foot. So when you're looking at it, I'm not sure how that transition would work at where all of those intersect. So from the front property line, you're going with a 4-foot high, it's intersecting with the 6-foot high running parallel to the roadway, to the front, and then along that side, you're gonna jump to 8. So that's visually where I'm trying to understand how that would work.
That little blue thing right here.
Correct. But when they all meet together, how is that gonna,
I don't have to put that blue.
because you're gonna have this, this, and then this.
Kristen, I don't have to put that blue in. I could, it's only
Okay.
like, it's only like 3 feet,
And that,
you know?
that's
That-
fine,
That
that's
helps make the decision. It's only, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet or something like that, or whatever, it's like
5 feet.
5 feet, yeah.
What about an angled one? That's not uncommon either.
I'm sorry, what one?
Well, I'm actually talking to the board at this point as a suggestion also. I don't know how people feel about it, but you see angled ones as well that drop angularly from 6 to 4 or 8 to 4.
The transition, you mean?
Right.
Can we go back to that picture of the backyard with where you could see the sheds? So the fence along the back where you can see the sheds sticking up, I call that the back. Is that
That's along the side.
the side?
Yeah, the back is the white vinyl.
The white, right. So is that an 8-foot fence now?
No,
That's a 6-foot fence now.
correct. He's talking where the white vinyl and the wood intersect.
Yeah.
Behind that, along that same wood, would jump up to 8.
And it would be 8 all the way across the back where you're talking about where those sheds are?
Correct.
On your side of the sheds? Would be 8 feet, which to me would block looking at the back of somebody's shed, so I don't see theirs. And I know when someone sells a home that the next person has to deal with whatever's there, but it seems like 8 feet would cover that. Just my thoughts.
Do we have any
I
more
think
questions for the applicant, guys?
I don't. But I was just saying, I think that's why what his plan is to do 8 feet. It's just this 15-foot aspect of whether that continues around into the yellow 6 feet to this point and then becomes 8 feet, which
Right.
that would all be fine, is what Chris is saying. There's just the variance in the front end portion that is the 6-foot drop.
So for a point of reference, if I may, at the corner of the pool where there's the, like the lounge seat, that's pretty much, if you just go straight to the fence, that's 20 feet. That's the setback requirement from the front property line. Just as a point of reference, when we looked at the dotted line for the 20-foot, it's kind of at that corner. So if you went straight just to the fence, anything to the right of that, your max height is really only 4 feet, which he has 6 and he's requesting 8.
And your recommendation is to keep it at 6
And that's
and give the variance of 2 feet. So we go from 4 to 6. So we're giving a
replace it.
variance, but
Okay.
it's to 6, not 8, right?
that was staff's recommendation.
Because it's already not conforming.
Correct.
So we're not penalizing the homeowner. But we're not giving extra to create a new precedence. So we see it here a year from now.
Correct.
We're here.
And he would have the option at that point, if he wanted to bump it up to 8, he meets that setback. That would be
Right.
definitely something that he could do as the applicant, the homeowner.
Given the additional discussion, I'm supportive of making a motion in accordance with staff's recommendation. So I'd make a motion to approve case number 24004 with recommendations given by staff.
I would second
Second.
that.
Third.
You got 20 seconds.
Okay, roll call.
Vice Chair Chase?
Yes.
Member Garshaw?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay,
I'll be in touch.
thank you. Okay, we'll move on to case number 24018. Kristen, if you'd like to present that.
Would you like to?
Ex parte?
Yes, exactly.
Ex parte, yeah.
I did a site visit or drive-by.
I also drove by and walked around a little bit as well.
I drove by but never got out of the car.
None.
And none for me.
I may have the presentation, please. Okay, finishing up today as I go through really quick. So last case today, variance case number 24018, located at 285 42nd Avenue. Also, again, a practical difficulty variance for Paul and Pamela Stein, requesting additional relief for the secondary front yard setback of the recently constructed 18.5 feet by 18 foot detached garage, which does not meet the previously approved 3.5 foot setback. Board of Adjustment case number 23006, now measuring at 3.09 feet, existing after construction, looking for relief from Land Development Code section 6.13A2. Listing of exhibits. Okay, the site is highlighted in green. It is a corner parcel located at the intersection of 42nd Avenue and Moody Street. It contains a single-family residence and also single-family residences to the north, south, east, and west. The property is located within the RU2 zone, RU on the future land use map. So with this request detail, it is a little different. Some of you may have been on the board and saw it in 2023 when they were previously before the board. And they are looking for an additional encroachment of 4.92 inches. So at their previous approval, they were granted the setback of 3.5 feet from the secondary front, and also a rear yard setback of 7 feet. Again, a corner parcel has little quirks to it as well. Where they did construct the rear yard setback of 7.53 feet, so they exceeded that. However, the secondary front, they ended up at 3.09, needing the additional relief. And a prior approval and background, again, this is what they were approved for as part of variance case number 23006. It was approved with the condition that the applicant should submit a sealed as-built plan noting all setbacks and ISR calculation to be approved by zoning prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy or final inspection. They also did need to remove a rear storage area, which was shown on that as-built plan. So in connection with building permit number 230100172, the submission of the required as-built survey indicated the secondary front yard setback of 3.5 that was approved was not met with 3.09. So here is why they are back before us today. This was the as-built survey that was submitted. And just an enlargement. And that is not what was supposed to be there. Again, I apologize. The other one did not come up. I hope. Nope. So I do have, if we could go back to the overhead, or
That was last month's picture.
I know, it was last month's pictures. For some reason, I had a whole rest of my presentation that didn't show up.
Doesn't look like your property anymore, does it?
No.
Wow, we have quite a parking lot.
If you wouldn't mind, if we could maybe take a quick recess and then I can just have them upload the other one. I didn't realize that all the pictures
Okay.
wouldn't
So
go through.
we'll be in recess for 5 minutes,
If that, yeah.
or 3,
If you wouldn't mind.
not at all.
All right, I apologize. Let's see if I can get that.
Okay, we're going to re-adjourn the meeting.
If I may have the presentation, please. Okay, so let's go where we left off. So I just wanted to give you a comparison again of what was previously approved in 2022, and then in 2024, that would have been the as-built plan. So we're going to bring it onto the property. Legal ad published and notices mailed May 1st, signs posted on the property May 7th, again a corner, so it got 2 bright yellow signs. Here is the front of the property with the detached garage that was constructed. It's still under constructed. I have spoken with the applicant. It will be painted, but I'm sure he can give you more testimony on that to match the existing dwelling. Here is the single-family residence to the south and the single-family residence to the west. And here's just another angle of the constructed detached garage. Another one looking south. Another angle. Okay, so top is what was there before when they were before the Board of Adjustment, and then the bottom is what was actually constructed. Okay. Variance criteria and comments that were included within the staff findings report. Staff comments, the applicant should be prepared to provide their own testimony and respond to any comments below. The applicant should discuss any issues that surfaced during or post-construction that resulted in the detached garage not to be built as per the prior approval. Just some testimony on why it wasn't constructed the way it was approved. Staff do find the request that the request is reasonable given the existing conditions of the lot and will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, and staff does recommend approval as proposed. I did not receive any letters for or against.
Thank you.
Okay,
This application.
thank you. Would you like to come forward, sir?
I would.
And state your name and address for the record.
My name is Paul Stein. My address is 285 42nd Avenue in St. Pete Beach. Before I launch into my proposal, I'd like to acknowledge that through all of our dealings with the city of St. Pete Beach, everybody's been fantastic to work with, from Kristen to Brandon Berry to Jennifer Ledford, and the staff deserves recognition for same. I know they're very heavily worked with little jobs like mine and big jobs like the trade winds and so forth, so credit to them.
Thank you.
Yes, so I apologize for having to come before you again and spend another $500 and change for postage. If I can have the overhead, and I think, Madam Clerk, you probably want this for your records from the last. The biggest issue that arose with our post-built survey is that the surveyor didn't agree with his prior survey. The pre-built survey here, and I'll add that the same Murphy's Land Surveying surveyed this property in 2001. We obtained a really poor Xerox copy of it, but his survey from late 2022 agrees, the numbers agree with his survey from 2001, where this is 15.3 feet to the building, this is 15.29 to the building, this is 20.75. For reasons which are not clear to me, when the surveyor came out for the post-construction survey, these numbers changed by, in this instance, 0.31 feet, and in this instance, 0.29 feet. Somehow these numbers agree with one another. So there's wild inconsistencies in these surveys. There are, and I submitted this, it should be part of your package as my application. I submitted 3 different scenarios here, one which is most favorable to me, one which is least favorable to me, and one which kind of compromises along the middle. The short of this situation is that in worst case scenario, we're 4.92 inches over the line that we're supposed to be at. Maybe part of this is due to the surveyor, maybe part of this is due to the concrete contractor goofing a little bit. The middle of the road scenario, if we take that 0.31, I'm still 0.1 feet or an inch and a quarter over the line. But with these numbers, and I didn't notice this detail when I first glanced at it, but these numbers here, the one on the right is greater than the one on the left. Here, the one on the right is less than the one on the left, which has the effect of skewing the entire line, or can have the effect of skewing the entire line, which would actually put the garage within our setback as approved last year. So I'm asking for permission to not have to tear down the garage and rebuild it over again. And, you know, initially when we submitted this proposal, we wanted a 20 by 20 foot garage. And we were afraid that it might not get approved. And we thought if we would be a little more conservative in our ask, we would get a better chance of approval. Kristen's advice was ask for what you want, and it was good advice. But we just felt it was be in our best interest to be a little bit conservative. Well, now we have variably gone over this line by not at all, or an inch and a quarter, or 4.92 inches. In any case, I cannot recommend Murphy's surveying. And, you know, we spoke to them because they did the survey before the turn of the year. And I like, guys, you did this before. Your numbers agreed from 2001 to 2022. And suddenly they don't agree. And we got no satisfaction from them, so I'm here instead to ask for your permission to let our garage live. And when we get that paint color matched at Home Depot, we'll paint the garage to match the house.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions, feel free.
I have my standards.
I was going to say, it's just Murphy's Law. There you go.
That hadn't actually occurred to me, but
Okay, would the board like to ask any questions?
I have just a couple of routine ones. So, sir, in addition to the variance for the original variance for the garage, have you had any other variances on this
No.
property? I have no other questions.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
You have stucco on that, is that correct?
yes.
No other questions.
Okay,
And it's primed. It's ready for paint.
if we don't have any other questions from the board, then we'll close that part and go to audience comments. Anybody in the audience want to comment on this? If not, we'll close that section, and
I'll make a motion that we approve case 24018 as recommended by staff.
Second.
I'll second.
okay, we have first a motion and a second. We'll have roll call.
Member Garshaw?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Vice Chair Chase?
Yes.
Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. You don't have to tear it down.
Gosh.
That's a nightmare. Okay.
Given the discussion items moved, I think that,
Yeah, so we have the discussion item for next month.
That is correct.
And-
It will be continued to next month. I just want to let you know that our next Board of Adjustment meeting will be held on Thursday, June 20th, as the board kind of wiggled both May and June to different dates. So I will be sending out your information on that, but I just wanted to put it on the radar that it is Thursday, June 20th at 2 p.m. As of now, we do have one practical practical difficulty application. We may have another one possible, should it be deemed complete. But that is all I have for you today.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Matthew, do you have anything for us before we adjourn?
No, I just appreciate the accommodation. I'd rather be there in person to talk about the policies and procedures. So sorry I couldn't be there, but thanks for letting me appear via Zoom.
Okay.
All
No
good.
problem. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Meeting adjourned.